This video provides a demonstration of the loading platen attachment process required for small specimen AMPT cyclic fatigue testing. Loading platens are often referred to as end plates. When using plastic steel epoxy, the following safety precautions are recommended: safety glasses, gloves, lab coat. Additionally, the plastic steel epoxy produces harmful vapors. Work with the epoxy in a well-ventilated area. The following equipment, materials, and supplies are required to attach loading platens to a small specimen: cord and cut 38 mm diameter and 110 mm tall test specimen with gauge points attached, tension platen fixing jig, small specimen tension platen fixing jig adapter kit, two 38 mm diameter loading platens, Allen wrench, small spatula, quick setting epoxy, DevCon 10240 is recommended, mixing surface for epoxy such as cardboard, metal, glass, or plastic, approximately 2 inches by 2 inches, balance with 0.01 gram resolution, clean paper towel or scrap cloth. To modify the gluing jig for small specimens, start by removing the upper plate using an Allen wrench to loosen the screw. Set the upper plate, screw, and washers aside. Then loosen the bolts on the notched arm and remove, making sure not to lose any hardware. Attach the small specimen top plate with the included spacer, washer, and screw. Insert the small specimen notched arm and attach the bolts. The correct spacing will be set later. Place the spacer plate in the bottom of the gluing jig. Inspect the gluing jig and adapters to make sure everything is clean and working properly. Ensure that no dust or particles are in the recessed areas where the loading platens will sit. Check the backs of the loading platens for dirt, debris, and damage, which would prevent the loading platen from sitting flat in the gluing jig. Remove any debris. If the debris cannot be removed or the plate is damaged, consider removing from service. Place the loading platens and specimen in the gluing jig. If the specimen is held off-center, loosen the bolts and adjust the position of the notched arm such that the specimen will be held in the center of the gluing jig. Then remove the loading platens and specimen. The epoxy used in this video is DevCon 10240. If using a different epoxy, follow the manufacturer's mixing and curing instructions. Place the mixing surface on the balance and tare. Measure out approximately 3.4 grams of the black epoxy resin on one side of the mixing surface, then wipe the spatula on a clean paper towel or scrap cloth. Tare the balance again and measure out approximately 2 grams of the white epoxy hardener on the other side of the mixing surface. Mix the two parts of the epoxy together with the mixing tool until a uniform streak-free gray color is achieved. Scrape epoxy into the grooves of the loading platen with the sharp edge of the spatula. Then place 1/3 of the epoxy in the center of the loading platen and spread outward, creating a gentle taper such that air bubbles will be squeezed out by the glue as it moves outward. Place the loading platen in the gluing jig. Repeat for the other loading platen. Scrape the remaining epoxy into the voids at each end of the specimen. Place the specimen in the gluing jig aligned with the notched arm. Bring down the top plate and the side arm to secure. Ensure glue is squeezing out from all seams. If glue is not squeezing out, a void may be formed in the glue and cause failure in the fatigue testing. Allow the epoxy to reach the initial set before removing the specimen from the gluing jig. For this epoxy, this will take approximately 15 minutes. This epoxy will be completely set after 1 hour. After the epoxy has set, remove the specimen from the gluing jig, making sure to lift the specimen by the bottom loading platen.